All right, guys, you've heard us talk a lot about shoes, but you've also heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, we have something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then, with the YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. Just visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to download America's #1 sportsbook.
All right, guys, yesterday was cut down day in the NFL. Today we'll find out players that have been picked up on waivers. You got to always remember that the initial cut down to 53 is not going to be the same roster. Specifically in the Browns case, we know it's not going to be the same roster that starts the season. We are 8 days away from opening day with the Chiefs and who the Chiefs playing? Texans? Ravens, right.
Lamar versus Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah. And we are 11 days away from the Browns and most of the other teams getting started a week from Sunday against the Cowboys. Things of note that happened in the cut down day. The Browns kept all 4 quarterbacks. Obviously, that's temporary. They're not going to have 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. I can't imagine for week 1. Certainly, even if they did for week 1, which is unlikely, beyond that they wouldn't. Only 2 running backs on the roster. There seems to be speculation that D'Onta Forman, who was cut, will be brought back. You saw that last year with Maurice Hurst. They cut him. You do that as a procedural move, so the player's contract is not guaranteed for the whole season. Now, if I was a guy like, Foreman, I might be kind of pissed and want to go somewhere else, but he might not have other options. I don't know.
There's a little difference, though, because we talked about this on our text chain last night about how this reminded us of the Mo Hurst situation, right? The difference last year, as I went back to trying to figure out exactly what happened with Hurst, was they cut Hurst and brought him back so they could put Jordan Kanasic on the active 53-man roster, so they could put him then on the active IR, not the preseason IR, because if you go on the preseason IR, you miss up to 12 games to the full season. Yeah. The active IR could be activated after 4 games. The Browns put Luke Whippler on the preseason IR, or the non-active 53 PR. IR, excuse me. I'm not sure who they're – if they're following that same method, I'm not sure who they're going to place on the active IR that would then become Foreman's spot. It could be the quarterback thing, but
it could be the quarterback thing.
In my mind, it was the similar copy and paste of last year. I just don't think that's the actual situation.
And maybe it's not the case. I know it was Field Yates saying that he thinks that's what's going to happen, but there's no chance I mean, most teams carry 4 running backs.
Yeah.
Although some teams, the Bengals only kept 3. Bengals have 3 running backs. So it might be that they just go with 3, but you're certainly not going to go with 2, with one of them being Pierre Strong. Or maybe they're not going to bring back D'Onta Forman. Samaje Perine got cut by the Broncos. There's a couple of other interesting running backs, that got cut. Maybe there's somebody else they like.
I saw, if you went, and this is just speculation, when you start watching, I watched the preseason.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be a short yardage back, one thing I give it to, Kareem Hunt, he was not, the same explosive back we saw, but he could take some hits. Like, Kareem Hunt was getting hit. When you doing 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 and taking them hits, them are some tough yards to get.
But Foreman's been that type of back.
But it seems like he's been dinged up a little bit.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Well, running backs, sometimes they just was like, hey, it just doesn't look like they're able to bounce back and jump back up. Like the hit he took that got hurt the last time, I was like, that was a regular hit.
Yeah. In terms of the 4 quarterbacks, the only logical reason I could think of as to why all 4 are still on the roster is Andrew Berry wasn't satisfied with whatever trade compensation they were being offered in terms of Tyler Huntley or Jameis Winston. I know Jordan Schultz reported today that Jameis was never actually in those trade talks, so we'll see who they're
not going to trade Jameis Winston. That was always stupid and never made sense.
I agree. I'm not advocating they would.
And Mary Kay apparently clarified what she wrote, that it was just that they would be willing to listen if somebody called,
which is what every GM should
but
do.
They're not looking to trade him.
But the only reason they kept Huntley around as the 4th is Andrew Berry must genuinely believe there is some team out there that would trade something of value in order to get Tyler Huntley, because there's no other reason to keep all 4.
What I don't get about that is you said they weren't offered enough. What are they going to be offered?
That's not a question for me to answer. That's an Andrew Berry question.
What's going to change between yesterday and tomorrow? Nobody's offering more than a 7th-round pick for Tyler Huntley. I mean, it's just he has no value.
Maybe this is the way I look at it, and I'll try to look at it from a different perspective, because on the outside looking in, it doesn't really look like, why would you keep 4 quarterbacks? Maybe they're just gun shy. Maybe it's like, look, last year was traumatic for them. Like, they got to a point where they had a really good roster.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson went down during the middle of the season. He was done. DTR ended up being done for most of the year. And then now you're down to these other backup quarterbacks, and maybe they look at it like a situation. McNuggets like, look, maybe we don't want to be in that position anymore. And if we're like, okay, if we're going to throw the football, and if quarterback is going to be a main position that we have, why not just say, okay, well, that's the most important position. We'll put 4 guys and think about it from a perspective of, okay, it's 2 running backs, but we know Chubb's coming back. So I don't know. Maybe the emphasis is on throwing the ball around a lot, because there was only 2 tight ends as well. I would have never thought 2 tight ends would have been on this roster.
I could get the 2 tight ends situation a little more if they're truly going to the spread offense, less 2 tight end, no 3 tight end sets, because they don't have 3 tight ends on the active roster, at least for now. That could obviously change before the game. But if you're building a roster, and I know the initial roster can change, but if you're considering actually keeping 4 for week 1, you're hoping 3 of those guys don't play.
Yes.
Right? And I just feel like when you're putting together the whole collection of 53, you had to make some cuts you probably didn't want to make. Justin Hardy's another guy, Cleveland native, special teams ace, didn't end up making the initial 53. To keep a guy that you are praying never sees the field, no disrespect to Huntley or DTR or even Winston, you want Deshaun to play every snap for 17 games. That's the ideal situation here. To keep not just one backup, but a backup to the backup and a backup to the backup's backup, that just seems like a wasted resource when other positions could be helped out.
Anything's possible, but I don't see that as realistic, and I can't imagine they're going to have 4 quarterbacks. Well, a lot of teams don't even have 3. I just can't imagine you're going to use 4 of your roster spots on quarterbacks. It just, I know they had a lot of injuries last year. It just doesn't make sense. Let me throw something else at you.
Wait, before we do that,
Go
can
ahead.
you think of another reason other than
That's
Andrew
what I'm about
Berry?
to do.
Oh, perfect.
That's what I was
There
going to
you
throw at you.
There we go.
Maybe they're worried Deshaun Watson's not ready to play week 1. We haven't even considered that.
We
I haven't considered that. You're right.
I haven't.
Besides, unless to me, that's the only reason you'd have all 4 quarterbacks to start the season. Now, again, I don't think they will, and I don't think that's the case, because I think within the next day or 2, one of them will be gone. But that's the only other thing that makes sense to me, besides they're going to change it in the next day or 2.
And that's so. Listen, I will say that's a plausible theory. If they actually do keep 4, I think that's a plausible theory.
Right. If they have 4 quarterbacks on opening day, that means to me Deshaun Watson can't play.
Or they are at least a little nervous about the overall effectiveness, or because you got to think about it. Like, look, what happened the last time? Like, when he was playing, he had shoulder injury. He had a shoulder problem.
Yeah.
He came back and he wasn't able to throw. He came back against the Colts, didn't look like it was himself. And there was this whole back and forth about, is he going to be ready to play? Is he not going to be ready to play? DTR, the infamous, I didn't know I was even playing until, I came to the stadium type. Maybe that's a thing. And maybe they're hedging their bets. But
it's the only thing that makes any sense, and even that doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. But
if that's the case, tell us today that there's a question. Deshaun may or may not be ready.
They're not doing
as
that.
opposed to not saying anything till the Saturday before or the Friday before.
Right. Now, they got a veteran backup, so it's not the same
I'm just
thing,
saying, if we go into the entirety of next week, Monday's show, Tuesday's show, Wednesday's show, Thursday's show, with the anticipation of Deshaun playing, and this fan base gets behind, we're about to see Deshaun for the first time since that Baltimore game, and all of a sudden, they pull the plug. G. Bush, I know you're the king of overreaction, you're the Duke of knee-jerk. You will be one of the more tame people online when it comes to the instant reaction to that. And if that is, and I don't think it is, Bull. I don't think that's the case.
No, probably not.
It's 99.9%.
I'm guessing Kyler Huntley's gone by the end of today.
Yeah.
I agree, but that would be catastrophic.
We and don't get mad. We just spitballing, man. I don't got no inside information. I don't know if his arm is hurt.
Just speculate. It's odd to keep 4 quarterbacks.
I'm 97.8% sure that Huntley won't be here. DTR is going to be the 3rd guy, and Deshaun Watson is laughing somewhere drinking coffee like, my arm feels great, and I'm ready to go against the Cowboys.
Yeah.
That's pretty much what it is.
Right.
But if you did keep 4, That's a very interesting situation. And by the way, Stefanski will not tell us nothing.
He's not going to say that.
Matter of fact, if you thought he was tight-lipped before, he wants the Dallas Cowboys to prepare for all 5 of them. I want you to.
He may claim another quarterback today.
Right. He might got 6 dudes on the roster. Now you got to prepare for all 10 of them. Coaches be doing that stuff, man. But no, I think everything will be cool. DTR, I think won the job. I think Huntley did okay, but I thought DTR won the job, and Jameis Winston was always going to be the backup.
Of course, they would never trade him.
And he's like the in-house quarterback whisperer. Like they're not getting rid of him.
No.
Like he's going to be doing whole sessions with Deshaun Watson. He's been calling him before the show. Hey, what you good? Hey, what you wearing? You got your
Yeah, it never made any sense, the idea of trading him. Go ahead.
Just one other note I thought was interesting from the roster trim downs. Only one undrafted free agent made the roster this year. That was Javion Cohen, the offensive guard out of Alabama. If you look at his preseason stats, he faced the most pass blocking stats of any guard in the preseason. Only allowed 1 quarterback hit, only a few pressures, and over 100 pass rush opportunities. I thought he played his ass off throughout preseason and well-deserved to make the initial 53. And 2 seventh-round picks made the 53 too, and Nathaniel Watson and Miles Harden. Andrew Berry's not perfect. No general manager is. But he does have a knack of finding talent late in drafts in undrafted situations and turning them into valuable players. We saw it last year with Ronnie Hickman. There's no guarantee Hardman or Watson or Watson or Cohen can turn into legitimate rotational players this year. But
I don't know that I buy that he's
guys,
any better at that than any other GM. But
I mean, the Colts just cut every one of their 7th, 6th, and 5th round picks from this year's draft.
One team.
Mom, you just said every. I'm telling you, there's an example of one.
Guys, we missing something.
Browns just cut a 3rd round pick from a couple.
I said he's not perfect. I said he's not perfect.
By the way, Anthony, I'm sorry to interrupt the show, but can we get a moment of silence?
For what?
Siaki Ika.
For one, DJ Samoa Joe himself, Siaki Ika. He's no longer with us. Pour out some coffee wherever you at. Coffee. Moment of silence.
That would be funny if he was right now drinking coffee with Anthony Schwartz.
Yes, he is.
You see, DPJ got
and
cut.
you know who might join them in a couple of weeks is David Bell.
That's the one when the rundown.
He made it. Jamari Thrash didn't make it.
Thrash and Bell over Michael Woods. Drew, what's your take?
Listen, I saw it. I was talking to Quincy. I was doing a podcast with him, and I said, man, I knew they was going to do it. They like David Bell. I think when you look at it, it's weird how you look at the bottom of your roster, right? At the bottom of the roster, David Bell is one of those dudes. He does not have gloves. He's not very fast. He does not look the part. He looks like an old 1986 receiver. It looked like he has Brian Brennan skill set. And it's just like, man, he just does not wow you, don't do anything. However, I always go back to Kevin Stefanski saying when they drafted him, that he just liked David Bell so much. Look at him. Look at that nasty uniform. He got a nasty quarterback number, and look how loose his sleeves is, bro. This is nasty work. He has a mock turtleneck on.
It's anti-aura.
That is horrible. But he just does the medium stuff. They go run this route over the middle of the field that nobody else wants to run. And he runs it, and he catches the ball, and he falls. He gets 6 yards.
1 catch a game or 2 catches.
And they just he must be the smartest, non-existent, cool dude that makes sure the room is cleaned up after everybody leaves. He does all the small things. And the game against Cincinnati, they valued that game when nobody was playing. They said his game tape against the Cincinnati Bengals when Flacco and where a lot of guys weren't playing.
Jeff Driscoll was the quarterback.
Jeff Driscoll, he played really well.
Yeah.
He caught a couple touchdowns, and they felt like that was more real world than what Mike Woods was doing in the preseason. Which, that's the only thing that you could come down to thinking about, because Mike Woods outplayed him. He didn't even really play in the preseason.
He got hurt against Green Bay in the first game.
And Mike Woods is a guy who's been here a couple of years. It's not like anybody's knocking down their door from Mike Woods.
And they saw him.
He'll get back on the practice squad again.
And they saw enough of Woods, you know. So I was kind of.
I'm not sure there's a bigger disconnect between what the team thinks of a player versus what social media thinks of a player than David Bell. Because if you go on Twitter, David Bell's the worst receiver in the history of the world. And the team has told us time after time, we like David Bell. We appreciate the fact that He may just be a guy, but we know we can count on him to be just a guy. He's like a grilled cheese at a diner, G. Bush. You go any diner in America, you order a grilled cheese. It's not going to blow you away. It's going to be fine. You'll be full. You'll leave, whatever.
It does what it does, though.
You could try and order something different at a diner.
Yeah.
And it could be great or it could be absolutely catastrophic. You could be in the bathroom 12 minutes later. And that's what a guy like Michael Woods or Austin Watkins.
Is burger more reliable at a diner than a grilled cheese?
Pick your poison of staples.
American cheese, toast, butter.
I do love a grilled cheese.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not going to wow you, but it is what it is. And that's what Austin Watkins and Mike Woods is. He's not a grilled cheese?
He's not even worthy of grilled cheese status.
What is it?
Garden salad?
He's like, what's reliable at a diner but is an afterthought? Like a pickle?
A grilled cheese.
Applesauce.
No, pickle. Applesauce? No.
How is it grilled cheese? That's not. You don't.
Grilled cheese is higher status than David Bell is.
Like you could listen.
Grilled cheese is good.
If you jazz a grilled cheese up, like if you get some real good cheese and a nice
I'm not talking that.
bread.
I'm talking your classic white bread
David
Kraft
Bell
single.
is the dinner rolls that are on the table, or the chicken noodle soup.
Okay,
I can eat chicken noodle soup better than dinner rolls.
The dinner rolls is wild.
Yeah.
Like dinner rolls, them things could either be hockey pucks or part of the decor for the table. You don't even really know if they're edible or not. But
I'm just saying it's so consistent. Like you can't really screw up a grilled cheese. That's why David. It's not even good.
But he's consistently.
He's just a guy.
He's below that. Whereas
just a guy.
grilled cheese is consistently.
If you had, and I think what it might be this. And a lot of times it boils down to this on just some regular football analysis. Yeah. When you get a guy like David Bell, what if David Bell could play the X, Y, and the Z?
There's some little things about him they like.
What if like he has to play Amari Cooper's position and he automatically just knows what to do? Right.
And then he may do that. He might be a good blocker.
I was going to say
things like that we don't pay attention to very often.
Right.
That they're like, well, it's our fourth, fifth receiver. I'd rather take this guy. We know we can keep Michael Woods if we need him on the practice squad, and
and maybe Michael Woods only plays the outside receiver.
Yeah, right.
David Bell, even though he doesn't play that much, when we call him up, he automatically is in his playbook. He knows.
They've had them both in camp for multiple years now. They've had extended looks at both David Bell and Michael Woods.
They
so
like Bell more.
This kind of just has to be one of those decisions that, despite what we see in the preseason games, and Michael Woods had 2 touchdowns against Seattle, David Bell barely played this preseason. I gotta kind of just have to trust him on this one.
Yeah, the difference between David Bell and Michael Woods is not winning, losing them games.
Exactly.
Devin Bush made the roster.
He did. I think we kind of expected that.
6 linebackers made it. Watson, 11
9
DBs.
defensive linemen, not 10.
Well, Michael Hall's on the commissioner's exempt list. That was the reason.
Right.
But they still could have kept the 10th. Besides him.
Ika?
Yeah, Ika had no chance.
No, he had
I
heard. I'm not going to call the person out. But there is a member of the Cleveland media that I saw on Twitter yesterday say they were surprised that
I did
Ika
too.
got cut.
And
that's embarrassing.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Like that was such an obvious thing that was going to happen.
I mean, he like in the NFL, it's very difficult to see a person obviously not be an NFL player.
Yeah.
But he was very obviously not an NFL player. I mean, he was getting pushed around. He couldn't even stay in his gap.
Yeah.
Couldn't stay on his feet.
Like he's just running around on skates. Like I'm like, dang, bro, that was a tough evaluation. Like that one looked kind of crazy. Like it was so bad. Like Andrew Berry, he does that, right? Yeah. He's like, hey, listen, I missed on Ika, but I got Bookie Watson though. Like like that. Halasi, I got him though. Like he gets these weird type of guys that make the roster or whatever, but Ika was not.
Ika's hanging with Danny Shelton right now.
Oh, listen, he's
hanging with
Cameron Wembley.
The graveyard of Cleveland Browns defensive lineman pass.
All right.